Why should I go with pavers other than concrete?
I always present it as like a good, better, best. We're all used to seeing concrete. Concrete is everywhere. Concrete is what everybody else has. So if we're doing something that's in any way expected to be aesthetic, pavers win all day long. I'm a Teco guy, so I sell on the density of the pavers. So I talk about a standard driveway mix is 3,500 PSI. Pavers from Teco get up into 8,000 PSI. We have to buy special blades to cut them. Plus, concrete's guaranteed to do just a few things. One, there's no warranty, but it is guaranteed to get hard, guaranteed to crack, and no one's going to steal it. Don't lose that sale if you have someone in your wheelhouse that can do concrete or someone you can sub. Don't lose that sale over it, but make sure they understand the benefits. Another thing I say is, let's just talk about down the road, you have a problem and we need to repair. Here's what I send on a concrete repair: dump trailer, skid steer, bundle of rebar, demo saw, jackhammer, and 3 guys. And they're going to be out there making noise, cutting, all this stuff. Then they're going to form it up. We're going to call for the truck the next day. They're going to pour it, finish it, and it is not going to look the same. It will look like a patch no matter what. If I use the paver that's integrally colored, doesn't fade, has a warranty, isn't going to crack, chip, I'm going to send one guy, and it's going to take about 30 minutes to do the repair. Nothing technical, no equipment in your yard. And oh, by the way, that's covered under warranty. All you're responsible for is the labor. So if you want something that's going to have longevity, it's double the industry standard for the hardness of concrete, not going to fade, not going to have, you're covered if you have problems, then yes, it costs more, and that's why it costs more. It's a better product.
I would have doubled a lot of those things that Jake said, for sure. Cosmetic value, integrity value. I live in a freeze-thaw climate. If your concrete freezes and thaws, it's going to crack. If pavers freeze and thaw, they go back right to where they started at. There's a whole bunch of benefits there. I love the warranty aspect. I always say I put a 10-year no sink or settle warranty on my pavers. Ask your concrete guy if they would do that. They would absolutely not do that because they know that concrete is going to be vulnerable to crack. When I was a designer for a company, we would have to say that we would do all aspects of surfaces. When I went on my own, if they mentioned concrete, I told them that they were working with the wrong person, and sometimes I had to leave their yard because that's just how strongly I felt about it. So I love it. Do not give up your sales approach. Keep educating yourself. Keep learning the benefits of concrete versus pavers. Put down pavers in your yard. Put down pavers in your family member's yard so you can live with those pavers for 3 years and you have the own experience on why pavers are better than concrete as well to add to that. So
earlier this year we did a retaining wall, and the pool company, they're big on if they're not doing the concrete around the pool, then they're not even gonna do the pool. So we tried to sell the customer on pavers, whatever. They were like, yeah, sorry, we already paid for the concrete. Like, pool company, yeah. Well, we get there and it was the day after they poured the concrete, it cracked, and they came back and were tearing up like 40 feet of concrete and replacing it all a week later. So, I mean, right there, we've already brought that story up to a few other clients, and we had one today, and she was like, I'm just so tired of concrete. Like, they have stamped concrete right now. She's just like, I want something else. And we were all game for that and told her that story, and she's like, yeah, exactly. So
too many variables, too risky, it can crack. I had a very similar, it's crazy you say that. I have an exact same scenario where I tried to tell the client and the pool contractor not to pour concrete around the pool. They poured concrete around the pool. It rained that night. They never covered it. They busted out the whole side of the pool. It was colored concrete. So now they poured it again, but now it's a different color, right? Because it's a different day. So there's just all kinds of messy things that can happen with concrete. Now I have a portfolio piece, and if you looked at it with a drone view, there's patchy colors of concrete, and right outside of that is the most beautiful pavers you will ever see. So I can sell that all day long to my next. I just went and sold another pool job for next year. I use that as an example. I showed them examples, and boom, we're dropping the concrete. So every pool guy says, I gotta pour my bond, I gotta get concrete around the top. That's great, but we're gonna drop it below grade. Like, I don't care if it's 5 feet wide, I don't care if it's a foot wide. We're not gonna see it, and we're gonna put our pavers right over the top of that. If that makes you feel better to have a concrete bond 5 feet wide around the top of the pool, that's great, but I'm going to drop it about 2 3/4 inches so I can pave right over top of it.
Just to talk a little bit more about the concrete thing, I mean, pretty much everything that Jake said is what I say, but I tend to focus a little bit more on the ease for the homeowner. So like, I'm a nerd for like, oh, the PSI and how it's manufactured and all that, but the homeowner is kind of like PSI concrete, cool, you know? Yeah. And so I focus more on those. Like, I always say there's 2 types of concrete that has cracked or is going to crack. And the best part is, I mean, sucks for the new homeowners in my area, but I mean, it's good for us, is brand new homes that are being built out here. They're being built so quick. I'll go out to the back patio and there'll be cracks already. And there's like just dirt back there. Homeowner had just moved in. And I'm like, if you look at your driveway, look at your patio, like the only way to get this replaced is to exactly what Jake said. Like, we're going to have people come out here and rip this up. You're going to have it all repoured. And then when it cracks again later, you're going to have it repoured and redone over and over again. So focusing on stuff like that. And I actually have a job that we just won. Guy called us out to do everything except for the, hardscape in the back. And he was like, oh yeah, we're doing, I didn't know that until I showed up. And he was like, oh yeah, we're doing concrete all back here. And I was like, any chance I can convince you to go pavers? And he's like, well, why would I do that? He's like, I've always done concrete. I have my guys, blah, 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 this and that. And I just started told him and his wife, and they're actually building the house for his in-laws, but was just explaining it to him. And the cool thing about, so I use Belgard. That's all we've got really access to out here in terms of a more premium product. And so I told them, I was like, we can go, if you like that, like smooth look, no lines, like, everyone does like the stuff in the driveways. It's a little 6x6, 6x9, whatever. I was like, we can go with a dimensions 18. You've got an 18x27. That way you get less lines. It's a lot real smooth. We can do a gray if that's the look that you're going for. That way you get the look that you want. It's going to look even better. And you've got the added benefits on top of it. And I ended up converting him, and then we won the job.
No, I was going to say educating ourselves so we can educate our clients is what this is all about. So go ahead, Jake.
Another thing is that all pavers from all manufacturers are all ADA compliant. Broom finished concrete meets ADA compliance for traction, meaning people can ambulate safely without slipping. But any other salt pit finish, all that stuff, not ADA compliant. So that's another risk, especially if it's a commercial property or something like that. And knowing that, because people always ask, how many times they ask you, are pavers slick when they're wet? Hell no, they're not slick. But we have to address that. You have to hear that. You're going to hear that if you haven't already heard it. So that ADA compliance, Unilock, Belgard, Teco, Cambridge, all of them are all ADA compliant. So that's another nerd point there.
I'd say the cosmetic value, what we can do with them, the compass rose that I just put in, you'd have a hard time. You could stamp that, right? You definitely could stamp that, but there's just so much creativity that we can do with pavers. So if you build a portfolio that shows borders and not just one color paver and it's not square, you're also going to open their mind up to, they're building a brand new house. They have all the bells and whistles. To me, pavers as an outdoor living area are the bells and whistles for the right clients if you get that educated. So